Hi, Janelle. How are you?
Hi, good. How are you, Ali?
Good, thank you. So good to have you on the show.
Yeah,
Finally, we get to
exciting.
meet the pharmacy mentor. So
That's it.
excited. So now, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening for our global pharmacy entrepreneurs. Um, Today, we're very excited to have an Australian pharmacist, Janelle, on the show. Janelle is an Australian community and consultant pharmacist turned hospital pharmacist, and she has a big heart for pharmacy. And her current role is working as an outreach pharmacist in the remote island of Torres Strait. And she oversees medication services for 15 remote outer islands communities, as well as communities right up to the very tip of Australia. Well, for those who don't live in Australia or never been to Australia, I'll probably get Janelle to talk a bit more about that, exactly the location where she works at. Um, so we're so excited, and she travels to work some days by boat, helicopter, or charter plane, which is amazing. So we can't wait to dive into your journey in the pharmacy world and get to know you more, and also to understand more about the Pharmacy Mentors Facebook group and your vision for the business. So
Yeah,
tell us about
Ali.
your pharmacy journey. How did you start?
Yeah. Oh gosh, I feel like I've like my pharmacy journey sort of start from like when I was young because pharmacy has always been in my life. My mum actually worked in a pharmacy her entire working career. She actually retires at the end of this month, so she's been sort of that, I guess, that person in my life that I was always around a pharmacy when I was a kid and that kind of thing. And even though my parents sort of pushed me to study pharmacy, I just didn't think it was for me. I thought it was going to be law and journalism. And so I started on that path. And eventually it just brought me back around to pharmacy in the end. Um, and I took a gap year and started working in a pharmacy. And that's really where my love for it grew. I was working with a pharmacist at the time that I just really admired. And yeah, that sort of pushed me into that role. And I left home to study. So I did my degree and then moved to a rural area with my partner, or my husband now, before we sort of, yeah, got back home. And I sort of explored some other areas like consultant pharmacy, doing HMRs, started our family. So we've got two young girls as well. And I really enjoyed doing HMRs around that family time and just having that bit of flexibility as well, which I think is really important. Once you become a mum, it's really hard to try and juggle everything. And then I just got a great opportunity to start working casually in a hospital pharmacy in town. And I thought, gosh, I've got to give it a go. And it's just all been from there, I suppose. Yeah.
Wow. So
Mm.
let's start. I know that from different parts of the world, US is different MTM programs, in Australia it's HMR. So give us a bit overview of HMR and what your job description is.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'd love to. So, in Australia, HMR stands for Home Medication Review. What that involves is a doctor will refer that patient to a pharmacist or a pharmacy, and we will go out and see that patient in their home. And that's a big factor in the HMR program, is that the interview actually takes place in the patient's home, because you can learn so much about a patient and what they're doing with their medicines when you're in the comfort of their own home, and you can actually see how they're storing their medicines and how they're taking them. Generally, we spend maybe up to an hour with the patient in their home, going through each medication, interviewing them, and just like educating them on their medicines. And then afterwards, we prepare a report for the doctor, or the referrer, I suppose, with any recommendations. Perhaps there's some drug interactions, maybe there's some medications that don't really have a therapeutic indication, maybe there's things that should have been stopped before that I haven't been. So we write that report to the doctor, who then follows up with the patient and prepares a medication management plan. Yeah, that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
Great. So do you travel to patients' home on the island, or tell us, what does that look like, your day-to-day? You mentioned that you travel to work by boat, helicopter, and chartered planes.
Yeah, so I guess I'd clarify that is that I actually normally travel to work by foot. I walk just a 10-minute walk to work along the beach, which is beautiful and relaxing and very different to life in town where I used to, combat with traffic and parking and all of that. So day to day, that's what I do. However, I do outreach visits. So when I talk about traveling by boat and helicopter, that's to do my outreach visits. Because we're in a remote location, we have a whole range of these outer remote islands that have primary health centres on them that service that community and that population. So each week or fortnight, I do a visit to a community called the Northern Peninsula area. And for anyone that knows the geography of Australia, that's right at the very tip of Australia, sort of what we call Cape York Peninsula area. And I do that regularly on a sort of weekly or fortnightly basis. And I travel by boat or ferry. It takes me about an hour and a quarter to get there. When I do my visits by helicopter or plane, that's when I'm traveling out to these outer islands that are only accessible by water or air. There's no roads into them. And that's something that will happen maybe some months I'll do a lot of those trips, and other months it'll be some time before I get a chance to get out there, depending on weather. Weather's a big factor here. We don't want to hop into a helicopter and rain and lightning and things like that. So yeah.
Oh, how interesting. How did you get into that position?
Great question. So would you believe me when I would say that when I first became a pharmacist, I had this almost obsession about this idea of doing an outreach role, and I always wanted to work remote. And I don't know why that is. It just was something that fascinated me. I felt like it was something that I could really just sink my teeth into, and I felt really passionate about doing something like that. When I started working in the hospital as a casual, I was introduced to a pharmacist who happened to be the director of pharmacy up in this region in the Torres Straits. And as soon as he said that, I thought, oh my goodness, tell me more. I want to hear about this work that you do. To which he told me, actually, we have a job going. And so from there, a seed was planted, I think. And I went home, and after a few days, I thought, okay, how am I going to tell my husband that I need to apply for this job and we need to move there? And I sort of planted the idea a few times to him, and talked him around. And then I did sit for the interview and got the position and made the move. And it's been one of the best things we've ever done. It was, so.
Wow, that's awesome. And that's brave. Where did you move from?
It was so from Cairns. So we were still in Northern Australia. So it wasn't too far distance wise, but when you think that you are leaving your family and your friends and you're moving to a place you've never been before, that, there's not a lot happening. So it was quite brave, and I definitely was nervous and scared about doing it, but it's been the best thing I've ever done. So
Wow. So tell us a bit more. Was there any difference in terms of disease management or patient care that's different to, say, city area or where you were previously?
Yeah, definitely. So we see some pretty interesting things up our way, where I suppose the geography of the tip of Australia and the Torres Strait is we're very close to Papua New Guinea as well, which sort of influences a lot of what happens in this region and some of the diseases that we encounter. So things like we treat patients that have tuberculosis and leprosy, which some areas wouldn't even think about. We have a lot of infectious diseases as well, a lot of staph infections and that kind of thing. We also have high rates of renal disease in this population. So I'm quite involved in our dialysis units here in Thursday Island where I live, and then also in one of the other regions in Bamaga. So so there are a couple of areas that's really different here.
Wow, that's great. Great practice as well, and seeing
really great
a
practice.
variety of different.
Yes. Yeah.
That's perfect. So tell us more about the Pharmacy Mentors, the Facebook community. I know it's thriving and people love this community, and It's an amazing place for us to share our experience as pharmacists. Yeah, tell us what made you start this group?
Yeah. Oh, that's a big question. So I think I've always sort of had it on like something, I don't know, on me to create something and to provide like a platform for pharmacists to share and be supported and mentored in their career journey. That probably comes off the back that I felt at times that I didn't have a real clear direction, and I felt a bit stuck at times. I didn't really know where I wanted to go with my own career. And then I suppose I've gotten to a stage where I feel like I've found it and I'm really enjoying what I'm doing. And so I just wanted to share that with people, and I wanted to have like an open place, I suppose, for pharmacists to come together and share stories and insights and, resources and just educational tips. And I know there's a lot of pharmacists out there that are wanting more and know that they can do more. They're just not sure how. And they doubt themselves. We all do. We all think, oh gosh, our clinical knowledge, it's not where it should be. I should know more. How could I possibly ever go into a role in a hospital or become an accredited pharmacist? It would be out of my, comfort zone. But I just really want to encourage those pharmacists that you can do it. And that's sort of what the Pharmacy Mentor community is about. And so far it's going great. And hopefully we'll get to do some more interesting things in there.
Well, that's awesome. So what's your vision for, I know that you're interested in rolling out education programs or courses. So tell us your vision for the group and your plan.
Yeah. So when I guess transitioned from community to hospital pharmacy, I was really searching for more like educational support to really get me up to speed with some of the changes in the hospital system that I hadn't encountered before. So things like interpreting pathology results, understanding like, renal disease, things like that, acid and base balance, like electrolytes and fluids, all these kinds of things that just weren't familiar to me in the community. And I really just wanted to learn them and get up to speed so I could just get right into the clinical work. But there just didn't seem to be a lot of that around, or I couldn't find exactly what I was looking for. And unfortunately, well, I suppose, as you know, we have a few big groups in Australia that provide education. But to get a lot of that, you have to be a member. And once you start joining all these memberships, it becomes quite expensive for pharmacists. It all sort of adds up. And I feel like there should be more options for pharmacists to just be able to find the education they want without such a big commitment, and to learn in a way that it's really meaningful and makes sense and is easily digestible, that just, says it how we want to hear it and how we want to learn. And so that was sort of hopefully some future direction.
That's great. I'm looking forward to it. Definitely that will help a lot of pharmacists, early career pharmacists, even pharmacy students wanted to know that early stage and to get into hospital and know how to prepare. I know that you share a lot of that. The preparation.
I already have some courses I already have some resources up. So one resource I have available in my group is just some courses that are already free and online that sort of gives them the right push, and I guess the push in the right direction of what they can start to study now on their own, at home. And then I also have a resource that gives some good tips on how to prepare for like hospital interviews and getting their cover letter or their application up to, to shine, I suppose, to get them those jobs. Yeah.
That's great. That's good news that we have a great help, and definitely the Pharmacy Mentor is available to help us. That's great. Thank you so much. And I wish I had that help for when I went through uni and first year out.
Yeah.
That's definitely very valuable. So now it sounds like you're entering into the entrepreneur, starting to become your own boss, starting the business. Which is exactly what our global pharmacy entrepreneur community is about. We help and support pharmacy entrepreneurs transition from being dispensary or employee pharmacists to starting your own business, whether it's on the side or whether you're an entrepreneur, have innovative ideas at your workplace, we encourage that and want to nurture that, and because we see the huge value in innovation in healthcare, in pharmacy in particular. So tell us your journey, your transition. How did you transition, and your fears and obstacles during that time?
Yeah, I think we're definitely at a time of pharmacy where we're going to see more of these passionate, sort of enthusiastic pharmacists stepping into, I guess, spaces that haven't really been explored before. For me, sorry, what was the question again?
So what? No, that's okay. So what?
Sorry, you asked me about
fears or
difficulties, the obstacles
during that transition. Was there any mind blocks or fears that stopped you from pursuing what you want to do?
Yeah, I definitely was scared and fearful to start the group because I didn't know if other people would be on board with the idea, and had doubts that maybe I wasn't experienced enough or clinical enough already to share or start conversations like this with those people. So that was definitely a thing. I guess maybe it's just human nature to worry about what other people will think of us, which is crazy, but I think, it's just human nature. So that's definitely been one thing. And I suppose the other obstacle I have is just time. So I am a mum to 2 young kids, and I work full time, and I'm just trying to, find the right time to get this all happening, and just to keep moving slowly forward so that, I can get the business to where I want it to be. And so people can really benefit from that. So they're probably two of my biggest obstacles. But yeah, I think it's great how many pharmacists are doing different things and launching podcasts and entrepreneurial TV shows. So it's going to be a really exciting thing. We've come so far from where I think there was this thought that to really be a successful pharmacist, you pretty well just had to become an owner. And I think we're soon realizing that that's not really the ideal for everybody. It's not achievable for everybody, and not everybody wants that either. Not to say that, I highly respect pharmacist owners for their investment and their time and their dedication to their businesses, but I just think it's good that there's, we're starting to see some new options out there now. And I think we'll see more pharmacists that are, doing a few different things too, like maybe doing a bit of consulting, a bit of hospital, a bit of community, a bit of locum. I think it's going to be a really good mix. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's also the journey, finding out who you are, who we are, and what our interests are different. We're all from different backgrounds or have different experience. I know you also have a postgrad degree on human nutrition.
Yes,
so so now you've gone through all the community pharmacy, HMR, hospital pharmacy, now remote outreach pharmacist. How did you, is that
I don't know what I want to do, doesn't it?
Is it a process of finding your why, or how?
Yes, that's exactly what happens. So if we're talking about the postgrad in human nutrition, probably when I was just thinking maybe about 5 years ago now, I got to a point after I had my first daughter, I just really felt stuck in my career. I'd done the HMR course, but I hadn't yet started doing HMRs. And I just was feeling this real lack of passion and interest in where I wanted to take my career. And I just, I really just wanted to get up and go and see new things. So my husband and I decided to travel for 6 months in a camper trailer around Australia with our daughter, who was only 18 months at the time. And we did that for 6 months, and I locumed while we traveled. So we traveled along the East Coast down to Tassie, in through Victoria, in New South Wales, and it was fantastic. And I really developed an interest in nutrition during this time and some of the places that I worked and things that I saw. And so I decided to do that postgrad when I got home, which I really enjoyed. Hasn't quite taken me in the direction I originally thought it was going to, but it's definitely propelled me along, to keep the learning going. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. It really enriched our experience and help us to understand who we are and also all these experience can help us along the way. Even you become a pharmacy mentor, having your own business, you can share that experience with other pharmacy students or pharmacists.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
So what's your advice for our pharmacy students, our aspiring pharmacists or early career pharmacists? Yeah, share with us your advice.
Oh gosh, I could talk for hours on this. Because I do see a lot of pharmacists that I feel like were me, not long ago, just feeling a little bit lost, feeling like I've got, um, this drive to do more. So I guess advice for other, pharmacists, early career pharmacists or pharmacists that are feeling a little bit stuck in their careers would be, challenge yourself, get out there and meet people. And if someone, if you hear about something that, sparks some interest, just don't let it go. Ask the questions, get to know what's happening in that space. Even if it feels a little bit strange and a little bit uncomfortable, get out there and give it a go, because it's amazing the people that you might meet, the things that you'll discover, and the like opportunities that are around that you just don't even realize are there. And then if you are really interested in something in particular, then, take the leap, study it, do the postgrad, do the course, invest in that time in yourself, and it might take a while, but it's not a race. So if it takes you a few years, that's fine. But you're just investing in yourself and your career, and that's what's going to get you there in the end. Yeah, and I think, so that's probably a couple of tips. I'm sure I have a million more, but but I'll leave it with that, I think.
Definitely. And I think for pharmacists or pharmacy students who are watching and you want to know more, hear more from Janelle, make sure that you join her group, the Pharmacy Mentors. And where else can we find you on social media?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram as well. So Janelle _pharmacy mentor. And then I have a Facebook page as well. So you can find me there. We can probably pop it in the comments, I suppose.
Right. Yeah. Looking forward to it. Well, thank you so much, Janelle, for your time today. And then can't wait to learn more in your group and hear more from other pharmacists and learn more from each other. So thank you so much for your
Thank you
time.
so much, Ali. That was great. I feel honored. Thanks so much for having me.